you ever wake up with this much energy? If you don't, that's probably normal. But if you are struggling with feeling tired throughout the day, you might want to reevaluate your diet. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some easy, affordable, and nutritious meals that I like to make at home. And I do try to include healthy foods as well as foods that I enjoy. I also quickly want to mention that if you are struggling to get on a healthier path with food, one of the most important things I think you can do is to educate yourself about where your food is coming from. The more information you know about the food you are consuming, the more inclined you will be to make educated decisions and healthier choices about what you are putting into your body. So if you're not sure where to start with researching your food, I highly recommend a book by Michael Pollan called The Omnivore's Dilemma. Michael Pollan is one of my favorite authors. He writes tons of books about the relationship between humans and food. After I read this book, I truly felt a shift in how I thought about food. You can also download the audiobook version on Audible, which is today's sponsor. If you've never heard of Audible, that's honestly surprising because it is all over YouTube. Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks and original audio content. I have personally been a paying Audible subscriber for a very long time, and I use Audible every single day of my life. When I'm cleaning, when I'm cooking, when I'm driving, or anytime that I'm multitasking. And I just find it's a really good way to essentially read when you don't have time to sit down always and read a book. And if you would like to try Audible for free, you can go to www.audible.com/itsblitz or text itsblitz to 500-500 for an exclusive 30-day free trial and a free audiobook of your choice. When you sign up for an Audible membership, you will get one free audiobook every month, as well as 2 free Audible originals from an ever-changing list. You will also have access to exclusive audio fitness programs. I will leave all the information about Audible that I just discussed in the description box below, so definitely look into it. Like I said, I highly recommend checking out Michael Pollan's books, especially The Omnivore's Dilemma, but he actually has a lot of books that talk about food, and I believe they are all on Audible. But as you know, I could talk about books for a really long time, so we are going to get into the video. And the first thing that I like to do right when I wake up is drink a couple glasses of water. I think this is my 3rd glass, and we are going to get started with breakfast. The first recipe I'm going to be making is incredibly easy. It's just going to be a basic acai bowl, and you will need 3 main ingredients to make this. A packet of acai, which you can find at your local health food store in the frozen section. You will need a banana. I'm using 2 just because I'm making a double batch. And then you will need either yogurt or plant-based milk of your choice, or alternatively, you can use apple juice. And then I'm going to add in some frozen berries as well, just to thicken up the texture, but that's completely optional. And you can top the bowl with whatever you want. So I'm using some fresh fruit, kiwi, blueberries, and banana slices. I'm also using some granola. These are grain-free granola bites, which I really like because they're made just from nuts and seeds. And then I'm using some bee pollen. Whenever I use bee pollen, I get tons of questions about it. We buy ours from our local farmer's market, and generally it is safe for most people to eat as long as you don't have an allergy to bees. And if you do have a bee allergy, please avoid eating bee pollen because you could go into anaphylactic shock, which would be horrible. The last thing you need is a high-powered blender to combine all of your ingredients. I'm using my Vitamix, and we're basically just going to throw everything in, blend it up, and then add our toppings. When it's done, your mixture should be on the thicker side, and you just want to pour some of the acai into the bottom of your bowl. And I'm making one for my boyfriend. This is the perfect texture. And now you can just be creative with your toppings, however you want to add them. Finally, I'm just going to sprinkle on some bee pollen. And that is the final result. This is actually inspired by one of my favorite places to eat breakfast in Los Angeles called Backyard Bowls, and they make amazing, amazing acai and pitaya bowls.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna add a little bit of honey because I actually forgot to do that when I was adding my toppings. I'm also going to be drinking some more water with my breakfast, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of journaling, check in on YouTube and my social media, and I will see you guys around lunchtime. Okay, so we are back to make lunch. I've also changed my outfit because I'm a firm believer that even if you work from home, getting dressed and getting ready for the day increases productivity. And I actually bought this shirt a little bit earlier in the week, and I've literally been wearing it every day. I am obsessed with it. I have no idea whether or not it's for men or women. So cute. Also, these jeans make my butt look really nice. And yes, I can confidently say that I have a great butt. I was not born with this butt, and if you want a video on butt stuff, leave a request in the comment section below. For lunch, I'm going to make this sandwich that was inspired by a sandwich I frequently get at this little cafe in Silver Lake called Flore. If you guys live in LA, definitely check it out. It's basically a vegan version of a BLT, and they call it a BLTA. I have tempeh, which will be our substitute for bacon. This is like a maple flavored tempeh. It's really good. And tempeh is just fermented soybeans. I have some whole grain bread, tomato, avocado, and then we're actually going to go outside and grab some lettuce. P.S. For those of my tall subscribers who ask how I find pants in the right length, I pretty much just wear high waters at all times. So it has been raining all week. The previous owners of this house planted some vegetables like lettuce, tomatoes, and stuff. So I'm just gonna grab a couple pieces of lettuce. So convenient. I'm also gonna grab a couple of these orange flowers, which are edible, to include in my side salad. And this plant is called nasturtium. It's actually an invasive weed. I don't know if you can see how pretty they are, but the color is like incredible. You see? Now, as with any fruits or vegetables, even if they are coming from your own garden, you want to make sure to wash them thoroughly. And of course, if you are unsure what a plant is, do not ever, ever, ever eat an unidentified plant from outside, because there are plants that can kill you. So make sure if you're foraging or eating wild plants that you know what they are so you don't accidentally die. I'm just gonna sit these in the sink so some of the water drains out. In the meantime, I'm going to assemble the rest of my sandwich, and this spinach is going to be just a little side salad because I had some spinach left over in the fridge. To cook the tempeh, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of olive oil in a pan. Can you guys hear my refrigerator right now? It's like screaming. I'm just gonna put a few pieces in the pan. I have this on pretty low heat so that it doesn't burn. And in a couple minutes, I'll just flip them over so that they're nice and cooked on both sides. For the salad, I'll just do a little bit of sea salt and maybe some lemon juice and a tiny bit of olive oil. You could also do like an oil and vinegar. I just knew that I had a lemon in the refrigerator that was half used already. I'm also going to grab some juice. And I did not make this myself, but it is celery, cucumber, and some other stuff, maybe spinach or kale. You could easily make a basic green juice if you have a juicer. This is a really simple idea for lunch. Oh, it looks so good. Tempeh is extremely high in protein, so that's gonna keep me full for a lot longer. I also just have a ton of fresh produce, fresh greens, tomato, avocado, healthy fats. It is about 6 p.m. It is so dark in Los Angeles. I am just about to get started with dinner, and I'm going to be making fresh pasta from scratch, which is actually very, very simple. If you've never tried it before, I highly recommend it, not only because it tastes amazing, but it's also a very therapeutic process. I also want to mention that I haven't really been snacking today because I haven't been hungry, and I try to only snack when I'm hungry, but I do keep like pre-cut up vegetables in the fridge if I want a quick snack. Right now I have vegetables and hummus, so I'm gonna have like a couple carrots while I'm making dinner. This is my first time trying this hummus and it is so good. It's like very garlicky. I definitely do notice when I'm eating meals that have higher protein content, I stay full for much longer. So if you feel hungry constantly or you snack frequently, you may want to up your protein intake and see if that helps. Okay, so I have my green tea. All right, so pasta is incredibly, incredibly simple. You're basically going to need flour, water, salt, and a bit of oil, which is honestly optional. I like to use it because I think it gives the dough a better consistency, but it's really up to you. A lot of people think that pasta contains eggs, and it doesn't. It actually only contains egg if you're making an egg noodle like fettuccine. I mean, there's a bunch of different kinds of noodles, but for standard pasta, it's just flour, water, and salt. And like I said, oil if you would like. I'm using 2 types of flour. I'm going to be using all-purpose flour and semolina flour, which is going to give the pasta a really nice texture. I tend to cut both flours, but you could use all semolina if you prefer, or you could just use all-purpose flour if that's all you have. I've talked about making fresh pasta a bunch on my Instagram, and I've had so many requests to post recipes. The truth is, I don't ever measure my ingredients when I'm making fresh pasta for the most part. I'm still going to show you my technique, and I'll post some easy recipes in the description box below if you want to follow along with the recipe. I actually like to work directly on my countertops, so make sure that your countertops are clean if you're working on them. You can also just work on a cutting board if you'd like. The first thing I do is add some ice cubes to a mason jar and fill it with filtered water. Okay, I just find that cold water tends to work best. And then I'm going to put my dry ingredients on the counter. Some salt. Right now I just have about equal parts of my all-purpose flour and semolina, and then I just kind of form it into like a circle and make a well in the middle like that. So we have not added any wet ingredients at this point, but I'm going to begin to gradually add my cold water, and I kind of add it in the middle, and then I'll just work it in with my hands, and then I keep pushing it together and adding more water to the center. And I just do this a few times until the flour is incorporated with the water and you have a ball of dough. So it's coming together quite nicely. And when I have a nice little ball of dough going, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil into my hands and then continue to knead just a little bit. And when your dough is finished, it should be a fairly smooth, kind of elastic, textured ball of dough. It should not be sticking to your hands. And the next step is to put it in the refrigerator and let it rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. And this is a crucial part of making pasta because the dough is going to fully mature in the refrigerator. This is one of the only things I still use plastic wrap for, so there's really no alternative that works as well. You just want to cover it and wrap it like so. While the dough is resting, I'm going to make a really simple vegan pesto in my food processor using just a few ingredients. I have some fresh basil, some pine nuts, a few cloves of peeled garlic, a little bit of water, nutritional yeast, salt, lemon juice, and some extra virgin olive oil. I'm just going to add all of my ingredients to my food processor and then blend it until it is smooth. So that is our pesto. It was super easy. You can see how all that basil really doesn't make a lot of pesto, but I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator until our pasta is finished. And if I can offer you one piece of advice about having a food processor, it is to clean it immediately after using it. It will save you a lot of time. And our dough has sufficiently rested, so I'm going to take it out of the refrigerator, get a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick to my surface. Now for the next part of this pasta making, you will need a butter knife. You will also need a knife to cut your dough. And then I usually cut it into a few pieces. It's like a perfect elastic texture. I don't know how many, I think I do like 8. So just little slices. And then you're going to focus on just one slice at a time. And what I do from here is roll it into kind of a tubular shape. And then you're going to cut your whole string of pasta into smaller pieces. Doesn't have to be perfect. Definitely helps to use a sharp knife. And then we are going to roll them into a shape. I'm using the flat end of my knife, and I'm just going to press down and roll the pasta towards me. And then you have a cavatelli noodle. I usually set them on plates or like a lined baking sheet. You want them to be roughly the same size, but they don't need to be perfect. Gotta build up that thumb endurance. This is the most time consuming part, but I usually just turn on some music or an audiobook. This would be the perfect time to listen to the book I recommended on Audible, The Omnivore's Dilemma. Go check it out. And if for some reason any of your noodles don't roll right, you can just eat them. Here's another angle so you guys can get a better idea of what I'm doing from like point of view. You're going to take one of your small noodles, press it and roll it towards you. If you feel like this is too time consuming, you can run the pasta through a pasta machine, make spaghetti, whatever you want really. But I definitely encourage you to try it. I feel like making things from scratch also helps you appreciate food. Maybe you will even enjoy it more, knowing that a lot of time went into it. And this is how much pasta I was able to make from 1/4 of my dough. So I'm just going to roll the rest. After you have finished rolling out your noodles, you want to add them to some boiling water, and I've just added a little bit of salt and a couple drops of olive oil. Fresh pasta cooks very quickly, so you want to check on it. Usually cooks within a couple of minutes. Once your pasta is done cooking, you just want to drain it over the sink. I'm going to return the noodles to the pot. And then I'm going to add a little piece of butter. You could definitely use vegan butter or olive oil. And then I will add my pesto in. And then I'm going to turn the heat back on. I'm just going to heat it up with the pasta. Definitely added a little bit too much pesto, but that's all good. To finish it off, I'm just going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese, which is not vegetarian, by the way. Parmesan contains an animal byproduct called rennet, and it is the only animal byproduct that I consume occasionally. And there we have our homemade pesto cavatelli. You can make homemade pasta with really any sauce though. In the fridge, I have a big container of vodka sauce that I made last week. So it's really just personal preference. The pasta is perfect. Overall, very good. Okay, this is my final check-in. I am back in my pajamas, and my final little snack is going to be a treat. I'm just having a tiny bit of ice cream and a little piece of dark chocolate. I love dessert. I feel gypped when I don't eat it, and it's okay to still indulge a little bit and enjoy foods that you like. Ice cream is like a very rare special treat for me. I do really like it, but I don't buy it often. I'm also going to drink a full glass of water and take a couple of vitamins. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you felt inspired to start cooking more at home, and I will leave all the measurements and everything for all the recipes in the description box below. Something that I quickly want to add is that this is not my eating routine every single day. Of course, it changes on a regular basis, and I certainly don't always have time to cook as much as I did today. My diet is not perfect. I still have things that can be improved. I definitely could have included more protein in my diet today, and that's something I'm always trying to work on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you very soon in my next video, and I will talk to you then.